I'm Joe Vitale. I have a YouTube channel called N87 Paranormal. Before this channel, I've been investigating. I've been investigating on and off for just over 30 years, on and off. I never had actually too much of an interest in investigating the paranormal. I just kind of got pulled into it. I grew up in a house that had some things going on. It was not good things, and it was terrifying. So my experience with the paranormal was very negative. Uh, to make a long story short, we ended up getting rid of whatever it was in the house, and I was with a friend of mine. And this is about a year after the whole situation, but I was with a friend of mine, and we would hang out at a local restaurant, basically act like we're adults because this particular restaurant at the time said, hey, you can come here, free coffee, you don't have to order anything. So, of course, like, little teenagers, we took advantage of that. So I was with my buddy, and we were sitting at a booth, and he was kind of teasing me a little bit about the house and some of the stuff that went on there. He wasn't being serious. It wasn't like he didn't believe. He's just kind of poking fun at it or whatever. Behind me, though, was a group of people who investigated the paranormal. And they could hear my buddy because my buddy was loud in such a way. And so they overheard it. Eventually, he got up to go use the bathroom. And along the way, he ran into some other of our school buddies, whatever, and kind of talked to them for a minute. One of the people got up from the booth and walked over to us. Literally, all I had to do was get up and turn around. And he started asking me questions, which I didn't want to talk about. I didn't know this person, and I honestly did not want to talk about it. So, anyhow, I was trying to get him to go away, and he had said, well, if you don't want to talk about it here or whatever. I don't remember the whole conversation now. It's been many, many years. Basically, he was trying to get me to go with them to someplace and talk more about it where less people. I'd feel more comfortable. Didn't want to do that. So, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks later, something like that, I was with my dad. Went up to a gas station. My dad knew the guy who owned the gas station. And this guy, there he is. And I seen him like, oh no. And he noticed me and he's like, oh, hey, you remember me? And I'm like, yeah. And he, again, was trying to get me to go with them and talk about the stuff for whatever reason they were interested in what we had experienced. And I needed this guy to go. Like, if my dad comes out, because my parents, back then, paranormal was like, you don't talk about it. If your house is haunted, shut up. Don't say anything about it. My parents did not want anyone to know about it because they didn't want like people thinking that we were all crazy or anything like that. So I see my dad was getting ready to come out of the gas station, and I finally gave up. The guy wrote down my phone number. Off he went. I thought maybe I won't hear from him again. And I would say probably a week later, get a phone call. My dad answers the phone. He says, hey, there's some guy on the phone for you. Now, remember, I'm like 13, 14 years old at the time. And here's this 20-something-year-old calling. And, of course, I talked to him and said, hey, we're going to be going somewhere. We'll take you with us. It's safe. You'll be fine. We'll talk to you. I'm like, okay. So I had to give him directions to get to the house. I'm at the phone. My dad's like, who's that? Now I'm like, oh, great. What am I going to tell my parents? So I'm like, oh, that was my buddy's brother. I'm going to go spend the night at his house this weekend, and he's going to come pick me up. and it went from there. I did not investigate for quite some time with them. I went with them quite often, but I never actually investigated. It was more like, talking about things or watching and learning, which I didn't know that's what was going on at that time. I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm also learning. A few months later, the following year, I said, Joe, you, Bill, go investigate this room. We're going to go investigate that room. And I'm just like, what? I was terrified again. but nothing happened. It was quiet. Um, and then it just continued on. And I kept going and kept going. And that's how it started for me. Like I said, I wanted nothing to do with the paranormal back then. I was terrified of it. And it doesn't help, too, when you grew up in a home. Not necessarily the home, but my grandmother was super Christian. And she would sit there and say, oh, the devil, he can do this. The devil can do that. So all these crazy things the devil can do. But she's like, but there's Jesus. I'm like, that's great. So what kind of special powers does Jesus have besides walking on water, turning water into wine, and feeding a whole lot of people? And some of these miracles, so she actually made it far more scarier for me than anything else. So, I mean, that's kind of the short version of that. It's not necessarily proving that the paranormal is real. We're not going to be able to do that. It's not going to happen. And I'm okay with that. I'm looking for the truth. I'm looking for the answers. No matter what I may find, if, one day we actually figure out what's going on and it's not like ghosts and demons and all this other crazy stuff, I'm fine with that. Because I know that I was a part of a community that went out and was looking for the truth. And that's all I want. I want the truth when it comes to locations and the stories of these locations, people who have been involved with the locations before they turned into like these haunted places we could go to. Even going out there and doing like residential cases, helping people out, trying to make sure that or ensure that there's nothing really to be afraid of, things like that. And that's really what I do in the paranormal. I mean, it's nothing magnificent or anything like that. It's just man, I try to find the truth, and whatever happens kind of thing. But also in that, we have to find the flaws within our technique. We also have to look for those who are deceiving purposely, or those who are not deceiving, but they're going in the wrong direction because they copy what others are doing. That's how they're learning. There's nobody to really guide them the right way. So it is something that I also like to address, along with many others in the community, the debunking community, which is a phenomenal community. I think it's important that we try to teach others proper ways to investigate. And there's no perfect way to investigate. None of us are going to be perfect, but never take anything at face value is one of the most important things that I like to tell people. Never take anything at face value. Use common sense. That is the most important thing that we have in this field to use, is common sense. Many times we have done investigations, residential investigations, where people had something going on or believe they have had things go on. I find that more times that people are not actually experiencing anything paranormal, but it's something very normal, or something that needs to be brought to their attention that could potentially be dangerous to them. And then in some cases, we find that, oh, hey, there is something going on here that we cannot explain. And, do our best to make sure that whatever may be there isn't harmful, won't cause harm. And most of the time, whatever's there is just, there, sharing space. It's not harmful or anything like that. I understand that, for people, for a lot of people, that is scary. I mean, you're doing your daily routine or whatever at home, and then all of a sudden, boom, something happens, and yeah, that can be startling. But the goal with that is, again, to make sure that people understand that there's mostly nothing to be afraid of. Kind of, calm their fears, and make sure that they are in power of their own home, and not let something else take control and have power over them. I mean, definitely feel good about it. But at the same time, I really don't talk too much about residential cases. Like, okay, so we help them out. Everything is good here. We want to make sure that everything is good with them. Um, Keep in contact if we can with them, and then you just sort of just move on, and do whatever may come, our way. I don't really do residentials much anymore. I had from time to time we have some bad experiences with residentials. The last one I did, the lady was hitting on me, and it was time for me to go. And I did. I left, and I never went back. Never heard from her, and that was that. It's not just me, but this happens to probably most investigators, whether they know it or not. There have been a couple of times where we have investigated a location, and then afterwards we find out that some of the things that we were told, the history, things like that, people involved, either they did exist, but none of what they were being blamed for actually happened. I have a couple of examples. The Chastain house, we were told that the lady in the house, she was a witch. Wasn't true. Told that the people back in the time had actually hung her for being a witch. I can't find a death certificate, but then they claim a certain event kept happening, and they said that the spirit of the witch possessed her sister, so they hung her sister. Come to find out, her sister lived to be an old woman. She died. Something about her stomach. And then we were shown a photo of 3 women in a witch's outfit. And that was the red flag right there. And I thought, wow, that's really stereotypical of what a witch would wear. I took a picture of that picture. I did a reverse search and found that it was a picture for a high-end costume shop. I really dug into the history on that, and all that stuff that they had said about the house is not true. They claim that it was used as an orphanage, and you have investigators going there claiming that they're getting EVPs of children playing in the house. And the stories that when it was an orphanage, how horrible they were treated by the adults. Well, none of that's true, because it never happened. It was never an orphanage. Then we have the Conjuring house, Bathsheba Sherman, blamed for being a witch, doing these terrible things. Never happened. I mean, the proof is there. Most recently, a location, we're being told about certain individuals who had lived in the house, and things that they did in the house. We're finding out that none of it adds up. We cannot find these people who lived in this house, died the way that they had claimed that they had died, or any of this stuff. It happens a lot. It happens more than most people think. And of course, when I go to a location, I do not do any research on it at all. I wait until after. I want to go to the locations. I'll listen to the stories. I'll listen to the claims. We'll investigate. We'll check things out. And then, if we get any kind of like EVPs or anything like that, then we try to figure out the connection. And through research is, how we can uh, start connecting things and say, okay, so these EVPs or whatever it was we captured line up with the history, these people. And that's pretty cool. Now that's not evidence, that's not proof, but that makes me want to go back now that I have all this information and go ahead and investigate further. But when you're handed bogus information, we are literally investigating ghosts of ghosts. People who did not exist. We're wasting our time investigating just people who just don't exist, was never there. That's frustrating. That happens a lot. So with the Chastain house, I was pissed. I was extremely pissed. We went in there, wasted our time, investigated in the way that we should not have investigated. We should have come at it completely different. We already knew going into the Conjuring house the actual story, so whatever. We went there to film a documentary. We already had the information beforehand. This other location, though, I don't know if they were trying to fool us. I don't know what the deal was, because they claimed that they had hired somebody to look at the history of the place and things like that. And I mean, I'm pissed because, again, if these people don't exist, then we wasted a lot of our time investigating people who did not exist. They're not a freaking ghost. They're not anything like that. We wasted our time on that. We totally wasted our time on that. And that definitely does piss me off. I don't know if they were trying to purposely fool us or anyone, but it's so easy to go out there and look for information. It's not hard at all. It takes a little bit of work. And you'll be surprised at what you'll find when you dig into these locations and you start getting names and things like that. Research is important. It's a must. I don't do this kind of research, though, at every location. There are some locations where I'm like, yeah, I need to dig into this more because this doesn't make sense. So this location that we had done, there were a lot of red flags, and I thought, yeah, I need to really look into this further. And these places, they're expensive, and I don't want to be lied to, nor do I appreciate being lied to, just to sensationalize a location to make it seem like it's far more haunted than what it really is. And that pisses me off as well, because now you have this younger generation who wants to go out there and investigate. They go to these places, they hear what the owners say, and it's not true, and they run with that. And then you have more and more people, specifically YouTubers, who are going to run with that narrative. And they're not going to bother to go do the research, because once they do that, well, then their video becomes less interesting and less entertaining. Most come in the form of EVPs or sounds, but we also have to think about what is evidence. Most of what we capture, or all of it that we captured, to be quite honest, isn't really evidence anyways. It is, I guess you could say, a mystery, right? We heard something. What was it? We don't know what it was, but we know we heard something. A lot of people will say, well, that's paranormal. They'll run with it and throw that out there as evidence, but we don't know what caused that sound. Another thing, like EVPs, for example, we we get EVPs, and it's cool, but is it actually evidence? If I were to take it into court and present that as evidence, it's not going to survive. there's all these other factors. There's these outside factors of, maybe people talking. Maybe we can't hear it with our ears, but there may be somebody talking outside. Could be down the street. You'd be surprised at how sound carries and is picked up by our recorders. There's really no evidence out there. And, I know people will disagree, but that is the God's honest truth. There really isn't. If there was evidence, we would be getting the attention of scientists and skeptics and things like that. But usually it's EVPs or something that we pick up with our cameras that we can all hear, disembodied voices. Seeing anomalies with my own eyes, I've only seen that a few times. I have seen shadow people. I have seen objects move on their own, no strings attached, nothing like that. I don't know what the hell it is. I have no idea. But we investigate based on what we believe. And if we believe that ghosts, demons, and all these other things exist, that's how the majority of people are going to go about their investigation, is based on belief. So if they see a shadow person, if somebody believes that a shadow person is actually a demonic entity, well, they're going to run with that because that's what they believe. Or a shadow person is a ghost, that's what they're going to run with. Or maybe a interdimensional being of some kind. If that's what they believe, that's what they're going to run with. Belief is the strongest factor in the paranormal. We're investigating based on belief. And because we can't even prove our own belief, we don't have any kind of evidence to back our belief. No evidence of anything. So, I mean, it's a long-winded answer. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Well, Matt, Ben, and I, we actually did experience that. It hurt. It sucked. Felt betrayed. But we had to distance ourselves from that person because credibility is all we have in this field. And, how do I want to say this? YouTube is a very competitive space, and people are trying to be, somewhere at the top, getting the views and all this stuff, or trying to be YouTube famous. And some people, they want to start off legit, and do something, but yet their channel's not growing because nothing is happening. And that's usually what happens when you investigate anyways. It's nothing happens. Then they come to a point where, they want more attention. They want to make a living off of YouTube or whatever. And they slowly, maybe I'll just do something here. No big deal. But then they start getting deeper into manufacturing paranormal activity. It definitely sucked. And that person doesn't have credibility. We won't work with that person. And we know a lot of other people who have decided not to investigate with that person. And it sucks. Okay, he was a great guy. So there is that worry, but I am very transparent when I do things. So when I'm reviewing any of my footage, doesn't matter what it is, I let people watch that. I let my members see that. They see the review process, everything like that. It is probably one of the most boring things anybody could ever watch. But I want people to see what goes on. I want people to see what happens. You know, they get that almost behind the like behind the view or whatever of what we do. Um, you know, Matt, he went off and he investigated with some people, but it was only one person who was actually um, doing the faking and things like that. And from time to time, yeah, people do say, you know, well, Matt, you worked with them, so you must be fake. I've had a couple people tell me the same thing though about that other guy, and I'm like, no, no, my hands are clean, and then you know, I do what I can to show. Here's what I do. Here's what I show. Nothing to hide here. Um, can it come back on us? Oh, absolutely. Uh, or if people believe a certain individual is faking, and we may do something with them, and there's really no proof of that individual faking, you know, some from time to time we might hear, well, this person I think is faking, so you're fake. And it's like, what did this guy fake? I'll check it out. And I'm like, that's not faking. The guy just misidentified something or whatever. But yeah, there is that worry. There really is that worry. But again, we are transparent. I'm very transparent. I don't. It is a worry, but I don't dwell on it. One of the biggest challenges are those who are doing it as entertainment, but passing it off as fake. This does not help our cause and what we're trying to do. The things that those entertainment channels do, which is over the top, fake, uh, they make all of us look just fucking stupid, to be honest. Uh, Nobody's going to take us seriously. Uh, they already don't really take us seriously, anyways. But this makes it even harder. And this also reinforces their beliefs that all of this is just a bunch of bullshit. Um, we don't when we go to places, we don't capture all kinds of craziness that is shown over on these other YouTube channels. We don't have chairs flying across the room, tables being tossed. Um, the only time I've almost died on an investigation for real was when I was in Virginia and I was having a freaking heart attack, but didn't know about it. I almost died, but yet you got these kids running around here going, "Oh, the night I almost died." Demon attack, almost died again. And you got channels out there where some of these guys, they're almost dying every week. It's silly. Um, we can't get the truth out there when mass people are following those, and I'm just going to say it, those just basic piece of shit channels. They misrepresent the paranormal. They give a very false representation of the paranormal and also the locations. I mean, there's a team out there who claim that they got called by an owner of a house, and the family's terrified of staying there because they believe a demon is there. Now, they rented out an Airbnb, and it just so happened to be somebody that I know, I'm kind of friends with, her Airbnb. She never called them out there. She never claimed the place was haunted. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it is a challenge to get the truth out there, to get the true um, the true investigation work that goes into doing these investigations. It's sad, but I mean, it is what it is. It Well, I mean, it makes us all look silly. Uh, it really does. It also puts locations in a position to where when they see these YouTubers go to a location and they're claiming demons and all this other crazy stuff, well, these other locations, they see that, but they want that attention. So some of these locations, and I know they do it, and I don't know if any location owners will see this, but you know who you are. I mean, they run with it. When a lot of these YouTubers, well, or when any YouTuber goes now to a location that never once had a demon in it, now magically there's a demon in it. Also, well, I'm all for people making a living off of YouTube. God bless them. Make millions, make billions. I'm all for it. I love that there's a place that people can go to make a living off of YouTube. I love it. But now we're also seeing certain locations now charging more money if we're going to be filming YouTube content. And these places are already expensive enough. A lot of these locations overcharge. They're not worth the price of admission. And because these location owners are seeing, the money that these YouTubers are making, well, a lot of these location owners, they want a cut of that. They want in that. So, oh, you're going to film for YouTube? Oh, well, it's going to cost you X amount of money. The Conjuring House is a great example, and I don't care to say it. It's overpriced. It's not that fucking haunted. I know a bunch of YouTubers have been there. I've been there 4 times. It is not crazy haunted like it's being made out to be. In fact, the last time we went, nothing happened. It was quiet. I couldn't even believe how quiet it was. But that's the nature of what we do. But, now the Conjuring House wants to charge us even more money to go in there and investigate if we're going to put it out there on YouTube. Let's see. Real quick, battery on this camera is about to die. Let me see if I can slow it down. It says I got 4 minutes left. I don't blame them. And I, to a certain degree, I do agree with some of the things that are said. And I mean, good reason to. I understand it. And there's not going to be any changing of the minds. People are going to believe what they want to believe. I'm fine with that. But I think a lot of this does have to do, too, though, with all the silliness that we see with some of the TV shows. Also, and mostly, a lot of the YouTubers that are out there that are doing this. It doesn't make what we do look good. It doesn't make what we believe look good. I mean, at the end of the day, those who don't have a good opinion about it or just don't believe, it's something, I guess, that they would have to experience for themselves. I guess they need to have that paranormal experience to kind of get them thinking and motivated at the possibilities that, what is being said about people having these paranormal experiences could very well be true. I don't know. I don't know where to go from there. uh, so some of us do think outside of the box, and we do things. We don't necessarily like to share what we're doing because we know somebody's gonna find that. and then do that and then turn it into a spectacle, you know. So there are things that like I do that I don't put out there. Recently, I've put out a little more of what I do that people haven't seen. Uh, you know, to anybody who's wanting to get into the paranormal, and even those who are, and quite honestly, just learning or whatever, everything that you see on TV, everything that you see on YouTube, throw it away. Don't be cookie cutter. The REM pods, the cap balls, the all this other stuff, it means nothing. When somebody tells me, "Oh, my REM pod went off," so what? I don't care. We have no idea what set that REM pod off. We don't know if a ghost set that REM pod off or if it was just something else that interfered with it and it went off. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed when a music box goes off. What set it off? Stay away from that stuff. You don't need it. We've never needed anything like that. That stuff is made specifically for entertainment. When you look at that stuff, when you read the literature on this stuff, it's always entertainment purposes only. There is no way that we can validate if a ghost set something off or not. We can't do it. We just can't. But people are going to assume and run with that. Stay away from the gear. You don't need it. Learn. Learn from people who have been investigating for many, many years. Try to hook up with those people. Chances are those people will take you under their wing and teach you. I don't really necessarily want to use the word train, but they'll teach you. Use your goddamn brain. Use common sense. It is the absolute most important tool that you have when investigating. I know a lot of people say, well, I think our body's the best tool for investigating. No, because your body can be fooled. You can go into a place and feel terrified. You feel dread. You could have all these emotions, and it could very well be something as simple as just something in the environment, such as high EMF, or maybe something else that you don't know about that is giving you these feelings. Don't trust other investigators. Their feelings, and don't trust your own. Just go out there. Honestly, all you need is a camera and a digital recorder and common sense. Learn how to debunk. When somebody says, hey, this thing happens, just an example, this door, it like closes on its own, you know, and it's like a ghost. Go figure it out. Chances are it's not a freaking ghost that's closing a door or even opening it. There's so many other natural explanations that it being a ghost or anything paranormal should almost be slid off that list. There's a lot more to learn about the paranormal than just what you see on YouTube and TV. There is psychology plays a big role in the field. I'm not saying run off and get a degree in psychology or anything like that, but at least learn some psychology. Learn how certain things can mess with us. A great example, red light. I see that a lot of YouTubers like to use red light. I'm not going to say here, but go look up the negative effects a red light has on the person's psyche. It has very negative effects. It ain't going to kill you, but it definitely has negative effects. When you go into a location, and this is something I'm just now saying, I always look at the lights. What color are the lights? What kind of lights are being used? Because again, colors, they can change our mood. We know this because certain grocery stores will use, like Walmart, for example. They spent millions of dollars to figure out what color they want to paint parts of their stores because certain colors trigger emotions, can trigger hunger, and all these other things. So color has an effect on us as well. There's all kinds of things that you have to look at and consider, and I strongly suggest learn those things. Learn about things like that and how they can affect people. And that could very well explain why people have certain emotions at locations. I mean, there's, like I said, there's a lot. There's a lot to think about, and psychology definitely plays a big role in the paranormal. Debunking is the groundwork. It is the fundamentals of being a paranormal investigator. When we investigate the paranormal, we're not just trying to investigate to see what kind of ghosts or whatever are there. We're there to look at the claims. As I mentioned earlier, I gave that example of the door. Look at the claims, put those claims to the test. If we can put those claims to the test and we can debunk it, okay, that is solved. Now we can move on to the next claim and try to figure that out. Now, just because we can't figure it out doesn't mean it's automatically paranormal. It just means that we haven't been able to figure out, or just a freaking mystery. That's something Kenny Biddle would say, and I like how Kenny Biddle says that. I never thought of calling it a mystery before like that. There's always explanations, but yet there are those things that do happen where it does just seem to defy logic, and there is no explanation for that. But that, again, does not make it paranormal. Debunking is so important. You will learn so much just from debunking. It saves you a lot of time from investigating something that is not paranormal, so you can investigate what could potentially be paranormal. I don't see a lot of that going on in the community. I do know that there are investigators out there who do debunk and things like that, but I'm not seeing a lot of that, and I think a lot of that does have to do with, attention. Hey, look at me, I caught something, pay attention to me, kind of thing. I mean, there have been many times where, something happens like, wow, that is really cool, and you really want so badly for something to be paranormal. Another example is we were given a piece of footage for our upcoming documentary, and it was this weird light anomaly. And I wanted Kenny Biddle to have a look at this footage. So what I did is I put something together, and I was explaining it to him. I was showing the footage. I was also in the footage showing it, kind of like what we see right now, kind of like the side-by-side thing here going on. When I really started to look at it, I realized this is not a light anomaly. This is a reflection. The way it moved and things like that, it seemed very odd. It did not seem natural. But once I really started looking at it and getting a good look at it, I realized this is light coming in from a window, and what we're seeing, because it looked like it's split in two, but what we're seeing that looks like it's split in two is actually, it could have been a part of a tree, like a branch or something like that, just a small branch that actually entered in the frame and made it look like it was split in two. And because of how fast it entered into frame, we didn't notice it entered frame until I actually zoomed in on it and slowed it down. Then I could see something entering the frame. And while I'm doing this, recording this, gonna give it to Kenny, I'm like, I just figured it out. I believe this is the answer. I sent it to him anyways. He had a look. He agreed. had had we not done that and put it out there and somebody figured it out, that kind of makes us look stupid, right? Because we're the guys, that we try to debunk things and try to get to the bottom of things, and then something like that slides. We've already had that happen to us. Prime example: the Harrisville haunting, the rocking chair. I had no idea what was going on. I never said it was a ghost or anything paranormal. I'm just like, I don't know. I have no idea. And it wasn't until somebody on YouTube contacted us, told us what he thought, and he took that to task and then showed us he was right. It was not a paranormal event. It was there was a explanation for it, and it was a great explanation. And we're like, okay, that's it. So even if if I put something out there and somebody debunks that, I'm all for it. That's awesome. That means somebody took the time out to watch this video and say, hey, I actually have an answer. And I love that. It's a have to. It is a have to. If these guys out there claiming to be paranormal investigators or ghost hunters are out there not doing that, all they're doing is running around anomaly hunting, as Kenny Biddle would call it. And I love that too, anomaly hunting. I think that's a great word, or a great way to say something like that. So, I want so badly for things to turn out to be something like paranormal. We have to keep ourselves in check. The way I investigate is if something happens, we'll treat it like a paranormal event at first. Let's see if it can be recreated naturally without us not doing anything. Let's see if whatever it was that was experienced, let's see if it happens again. If it doesn't, then go from there, right? Try to figure it out, try to debunk it. There have been many, many times where we're like, oh my God, that was freaking cool, only to be like, oh, well, that sucks. Moving on. You have to be prepared to be disappointed. Again, I would love, to like capture something super cool, and I have. It's unexplainable. I don't know if it's paranormal or not, but most of the time, like I said, it turns out that it's not paranormal, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The best way to prepare yourself for something like that is, you have to accept that you're going to always come across something that is just, it's not paranormal. You just have to accept it. That would be the best way to prepare for something like that. Like I said, there's been many times where like, well, that sucks. That's not paranormal. Moving on. Yeah, it sucks, but at the same time, what can you do about it? You move on, and maybe you get something else. But yeah, be prepared. Be in that mindset. When I go into a location, for the first time, I see it as not haunted. Nothing's gonna happen. Let's do this. And hey, there are times where I'm surprised. Where I'm like, holy crap. Wow. Okay, cool. Most of the time though, and just like, why am I doing this? Why am I spending money doing this? Why? What the hell's wrong with me? But there's always something. There's always something somewhere where you go, this is why I do it. This is why. And continue to do it. No matter what I say, as long as they're making a buck, it ain't going to change. I would much rather knock their teeth down their fucking throat than say anything, to be quite honest. What am I supposed to say? Stop faking things. It makes us look bad. Well, who cares? Who cares what I think? They don't care. I mean, if they cared, they wouldn't do it. But as long as they're getting the views, getting those clicks, making that money, they don't care. So yeah, I'd much rather put their teeth down their fucking throat than to just have to tell them. I mean, just being honest. Not a hell of a lot has changed, to be honest. I still believe what I believe, always have since I was younger. I call myself an oddball Christian. What I mean by that is, yeah, I do believe there is a God, a creator, but I don't believe everything that is in the Bible. I just don't. And if I'm wrong, I'm in trouble. But there's only been a few things that have actually changed for me. For example, I would have friends who investigate the paranormal who say, I've seen a doppelganger. I've seen a doppelganger. I've never experienced that. Never had experienced it. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't want to sit there and say like my friends are lying, but God, this just seems like some fairy tale bullshit to me until it happened. And then I changed my mind about it. And we didn't even realize what we had seen until it happened. So I know demonic entities. Now, again, this is based on belief. So I'm not spitting out facts here, but demonic entities do like to mimic people, but they're not perfect at it for some reason. They're really powerful, but yet for some reason they just can't like mimic people, like their looks to a T. Usually something's disfigured or something's missing. But I don't know if that was something demonic or not, but we didn't realize what we had seen at that point in time. Had no clue. We just thought, this guy, he's just walking past us, going down a tunnel, whatever. And then 30 seconds later, we come to the realization that it wasn't that guy. It couldn't have been that guy. It was impossible to be that guy. So my mind has changed on that. So now that is something that I do believe is absolutely powerful or can happen. Like, wow, holy crap. And if something is able to do that, I'm getting ready to use the word powerful just a few seconds ago. Something is able to do that. That's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. What else has changed? I'm trying to think. Like you said, not much of my belief has really changed over the years. I think if anything, it may have helped confirm what I believe more than anything else. I've never had really anything that strayed me away from what I believe in. And maybe that'll happen. Maybe that is something one day that will happen. But so far, my beliefs have been reinforced through my own personal experiences with the paranormal. I will say that I am, because I used to not be, which I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But I mean, at one point in my life, I was much younger. I didn't want I didn't want to have anything to do with, and I wanted to keep myself distanced from those who like practice paganism and things like that. I was like, nope, get away from me, kind of thing. Over the years, though, it's like, let's go investigate. You're a Satanist? Let's go investigate. Like, I don't care. I guess I just grew up and realized that people, they're going to believe what they believe. from their own experiences, whether maybe good experiences or bad experiences. At the end of the day, we're people, and we got to get along. So I have investigated with many different people of faith, that's for sure. Some pretty interesting too, but they've been they've been good people. They've been awesome, and I've enjoyed investigating with them. Right now, what I'm hoping to achieve is getting people away from all the craziness that is being put out there, whether it be TV or YouTube. All that fakery bullshit, all that other stuff. That's one thing that I am trying to really work on doing, and I'm really trying to show people what it's actually like to investigate, so people have an understanding of what it's like, and for that next generation that comes in, hopefully, that I doubt it though, given the popularity of these other channels, but hopefully give them something to learn from, and they go out and use their brains, their common sense to go out there and investigate. Through documentary filmmaking, I at the beginning I said I'm not out to prove anything. Like, I'm not out to prove that this stuff is real or whatever. I just want the truth. With the documentary stuff, we do want to prove, and we do want the truth. So with that aspect, we're trying to prove that something is going on. But when it comes to my, the YouTube channel, I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I'm just out there, like I said. The goal is just to get the truth out there. Hopefully people can learn from it. People can get a better understanding of what investigating is like, boring. And, hopefully a younger generation will see that and run with it. My goal is definitely not to be famous or anything like that. I mean, a little too late for that anyways. I'm just doing what I love to do. And, the goal is also to just keep doing it and keep putting things out there, showing people what it's like. Hopefully people can learn and such. So